executive producer of this fine show, along with Blake Neff. And we are joined by Senator Markwayne Mullin, senator from the great state of Oklahoma. Senator, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for making the time. I know you guys are in the middle of it in the Senate. The negotiations are ongoing. We had that big vote last night where it was a procedural vote, a test vote to see if we could get to 60 and get to cloture. Where are we at now? Jackie Rosen was that 60th vote. Well, Cornyn ended up being the 60th vote after a little bit of a flight delay, I'm told. Where are we at now, Senator?
So let me explain the process. Last night, we had a motion to proceed to get on the bill, which invoked 30 hours of debate. Once we finish that 30 hours, which, by the way, the House can, or the Democrats can give back that time anytime they want to. Once they give back the time or the clock expires, we have to have a motion to amend the House CR because we're changing the date from November 21st to January 30th. And then we're taking out 3 CR bills because we CR'd all 12, CR continuing resolution on all 12 bills. We're replacing them with 3 of Trump priority bills, which is MilCon, military, ag, and ledge. And so we're going to CR 3 bills, put in 3 funding bills for President Trump. And then once we do the amendment, we have another 30-hour debate, which could technically take us into Wednesday. I think they will yield back all their time and we'll wrap it up tonight. The House will have to come back and vote on it probably sometime on Wednesday, and we'll reopen the government.
So break down the basics of the deal, Senator. So I know RIFs were involved. I know a guarantee vote on the ACA subsidies. Who's getting what in this exchange, in this barter deal?
There really wasn't a deal that we struck. What we offered them was a guaranteed vote on ACA, but we offered them, which is affordable health care, which is unaffordable. We can break that down anytime we want to, Andrew. But what we offered them a guaranteed vote, not an outcome, just a vote back in October 16th. So we could have opened the government weeks ago. The RIF was really the White House. We didn't offer that. What happened with the RIF, which these are all the employees that were fired since October 1st, so basically since the shutdown, the President Trump and the White House offered Tim Kaine to put these people back on payroll, but only until January 30th. So that doesn't mean they can't be refired.
Well,
that just means they're going to get their back pay and then make it through the holidays, and then they can still be deemed unessential and let go and shrink the size of government, which will probably be what happens.
So yeah, I was going to say. So what happens at January 30th? Is it an automatic go back to what Russ Vought and others had accomplished with these RIFs, which are reductions in force? Just in case the audience is wondering what RIFs are. That's culling the herd in of the federal bureaucracy. So what happens on January 30th?
Well, January 30th, we could find ourselves right back in the same boat we are right now. But what we're trying to do is do 4 more appropriation bills. So that'll put us to 7 total appropriation bills. Remember, because as long as we do a CR, a continuing resolution, we're actually still working underneath Trump policy, or not Trump policy, Biden policy priorities and funding levels. What we want to do is get away from that as much as possible and work with underneath Trump's policy in his appropriation levels, which is significantly less than what the Biden administration was. So January 30th, we're going to try to do 4 more appropriation bills. That'll give us a total of 7 appropriation bills. That, because of the size of those 7, it's about 87% of the government funding. And then we'll probably go ahead and CR, continuing resolution, the rest of it. All the way, our plan is to get it, instead of it running out October 1st, we're going to try to push it until December so we can get it past the midterm so the Democrats can't use it as a leverage point once again in October 1st.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to have probably a deal, although I just saw a clip come by. I think we're trying to cut it right now. Hakeem Jeffries is vowing to keep the fight going in the House. I'm not sure what his options are there.
How? Yeah. That's exactly how. He doesn't have the votes.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could play the clip here. It's loaded. Okay, we'll play it. I haven't seen it yet, Senator. We'll play it. 99.
And so as House Democrats, we know we're on the right side of this fight, the right side of the American people. And we're not going to support partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of the American people. And we're going to continue the fight to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And if it doesn't happen this week, this month, next month, then it's the fault of Donald Trump, House and Senate Republicans, who continue to make life more expensive for the American people.
All right, so I have like 1,000. I have 1,000 issues.
There's
with this.
so much to unpack there.
Yeah, go, Senator. You're the guest. Go ahead and do it.
Okay, let's first of all, he called it affordable health care. Affordable health care is absolutely a joke. President Obama promised that health care premiums are going to go down 25%. They're up 221%. All the premium tax credit did was trying to extend an increase that the health insurance company said they were going to have to increase premiums during COVID. The Democrats voted unanimously. Not one single Republican voted for this in 21. Democrats did it completely by themselves because Nancy Pelosi was Speaker, Chuck Schumer was leader in the Senate, and Biden was in the White House. They purposely made it expire in 4 years. So they could have made it permanent if they wanted to. And for them to say that Republicans own the high cost of affordable health care, it's completely unaffordable. They know it's a mess. It's a complete talking point. He wants to talk about they're not going to support these funding bills. Well, what about the military? See, a lot of his members have military bases in their districts, which, by the way, also have federal employees, federal contractors that work there too, and not just to mention the men and women that are serving the great nation. He's not going to be able to hold his team together. But really what's happening here is Hakeem Jeffries wants to run for president in 2028. And the guy it knows that he has an opportunity here, so his base demands him to do this. But the guy's in a mess because why? He went out and endorsed a communist, Madami, as New York mayor. It's absurd when you hear how weak the leadership is. What's so weak about this is Chuck Schumer's the weakest leader we got, period. And his party broke from him. Hakeem Jeffries' party is going to break from him too, and it's just going to show you how big of a mess this Democrat Party is.
Well, so let's get into. I'm going to play two clips. They're really short ones here, Senator. Let's. So you talked about Chuck Schumer being weak. I think you were absolutely spot on. The left, the progressive wing of the party, is raging against Schumer, even though Schumer was a no on reaching cloture. He's the left is blaming him for failing to control his people in the Senate, his caucus, 87.
I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over. If he cannot keep his caucus together, he needs to go. He needs to be replaced.
All right, so the view is now, hey, Chuck Schumer's out. We want AOC or whatever the heck they're going to say next. But then listen to Morning Joe here, Senator. He's basically saying, like, this was a success, actually, even though, this thing is about to go and we're about to reopen the government without getting all the things we want on the ACA subsidies. But it was a success because guess what? Nobody's talking about crime anymore. Play cut 86.
The Democrats is they took crime off the front page of every newspaper. That was the story. And they turned it into health care.
So you get these two competing visions of what or opinions of what has just taken place with the record longest government shutdown in our history. And so was this all a game of optics? Because at the end of the day, nobody was going to have the votes. If you're the Democrats, they weren't going to have the votes to win this game of chicken. It was a political game of chicken, all for optics, all for nothing. They knew they weren't going to get the ACA subsidies. So what's the takeaway here? What did we just put the country through, and for what?
It was all about politics for them. Republicans were trying to use policy. We're trying to have sound policy moving forward. Politics was all the Democrats were doing here. This was never about the $1.4 trillion for illegals. If you remember, that conversation went away weeks ago. What this is about making sure their base was ginned up for the No King rally. They were planning on reopening the government. When they realized they couldn't reopen the government because they knew November elections were coming, they said this to me because I was part of the negotiations. We can't reopen. Chuck Schumer said that he'll release the handcuffs. That is a quote, release the handcuffs once the Tuesday election is over, because they were afraid their base wouldn't show up to vote if they did it before that. There was 13 Democrats that agreed to vote to reopen the government. Now, what's really interesting, what the View said there is the View said that Chuck Schumer's days are numbered. Well, he's not up for re-election in 28. I think because Madami, remember, he's not a natural-born citizen. He just became a citizen in 2018. I think they run him against Chuck Schumer. He doesn't stay in New York 4 years. He runs for Chuck Schumer's seat and wins in 2028. And AOC is trying to get on the presidential ticket as either as a VP or as a presidential nominee moving forward. Talking about Joe, here's how ridiculous Joe is now. Joe is not wanting to actually talk about facts. He didn't say crime was down. He said they took it off the front page.
Bingo.
So he's playing politics too. Here's a reporter that's supposed to be reporting the facts, and he's praising the Democrats for using this gimmick by holding the American people hostage or as leverage points for over 40 days, crashing our economy. Our GDP was at 4%. It's down to 1%. We have more flight cancellations today than we ever had in the history of the United States, with the exception of 9/11. And he's praising it as a success because they took crime off the front page. This is absurd.
Yeah, that's a really, I mean, nothing boils this down or distills the essence of what just happened more than that. It is all for optics. It doesn't matter, like you said, that crime is actually down. It just matters what are people talking about. It's all about political leverage and optics. And I actually tweeted this out this morning that there is no moral high ground here. The tell is in the reaction to what just took place. They didn't get their ACA subsidies. They knew they were never going to. We have the votes. They don't. So as long as we keep our caucus together, there was never going to be a situation where we sort of bent the knee and you're like, oh, sure, let's spend another $1.5 trillion that we don't have. And yeah, of course, there's going to be some illegals and some people that Joe Biden let in that should not be getting that taxpayer money. And we all know that's the case. You proved it last time you were on the show. And so it's really infuriating to see that these folks basically held the country hostage for 40 days when they knew they weren't going to get anything because they simply thought they were getting political momentum and leverage out of it. Senator, final word, 15 seconds.
Well, you just summed it up. You summed up everything. And fortunately, every one of the Republicans stayed strong because we had a strong leadership in President Trump, with the exception of Rand Paul. Rand Paul's Rand Paul. But other than that, the American people saw that the Republican parties were standing strong behind President Trump because he had a clear vision with a clear leadership mentality. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator. We'll have you back on again soon. Thank you so much.